All right, so I'm going to pack in a lot of news and throw it at you all at once because Tesla's mission statement basically changed. The world is no longer about transitioning to sustainable energy. Now everything's about transitioning to sustainable abundance. I could probably rant on that for about an hour, but I'm not going to. I don't have that much time today. But I do want to talk about in the background of one of these shots they showed of development with the Cybercab, you can see what appears to be a SUV version of the Cybertruck, which we've been talking about on this channel for years and years and years. And I got to admit, even though it's a miniature model, it got me pretty excited. Just like the details, I can tell it has Franz written all over it. Like the angle of the slope on the front windshield matching the angle of the D-pillar on the back. It's probably not the best for visibility, but the Cybertruck and Teslas in general have never been known for great rear visibility because the future's always cameras. Just use the camera, right? Who cares? And you can also see some design characteristics in the Kia EV9 with how to handle the rear. But overall, I think it would be a great decision for Tesla. And I say this as a big Tesla fan and a guy who really enjoyed his time with the Cybertruck. The steer-by-wire, the suspension and everything was great. I just felt like it was too dang big for too little payoff. You know, just like a 6-foot bed from a vehicle that large, in my opinion, is kind of a disappointment. And the other reason, even if you offered me a Cybertruck for free, I would probably just sell it. I wouldn't keep using it, is because I am an avid fan of car camping. Having that enclosed area in the back is important to me, so you can run the climate control all night and you can load whatever stuff you want in the back of your car and not have to worry about the weather, not have to worry about rain or it falling out. And having the vault in the Cybertruck completely separate from the cabin, yeah, to me that kind of kills a lot of the utility and the practicality that I look for in a vehicle. But turning it into a proper 3-row SUV that could theoretically sit 7 or 8 people, I don't think Tesla understands how many people are looking exactly for that. Like an electric Chevy Suburban that actually has the good Tesla software and self-driving capability that people are looking for, and of course the steer-by-wire system. Like, you guys know how I feel about the Model Y L. Like, that's the kind of vehicle that the US really needs. But if I have to be honest, I will say the vehicle that the US really wants, at least statistically speaking, is these big fat SUVs that are decent at off-roading, still really fast, but just have a stupid amount of storage space. And the primary reason I think Tesla should absolutely do this is because if you look at registration data and Tesla's own sales data for the Cybertruck, it is not looking too hot right now. It is at 1/5 or 1/6 of what the production capacity is, and like less than 1/10 of what their projected capacity was going to be. But that was a lot of Elon wishful thinking, like, oh yeah, we'll probably do 250,000 Cybertrucks a year. Yeah, that's not going to happen, especially at these prices. And I don't think the SUV is going to get them even to those numbers because they've probably over-engineered it. They expected the 4680 to be a lot cheaper or a lot more energy dense than it ended up being. But to salvage what's left of this assembly line, I don't think it's very sustainable for them to just keep selling $80,000 Cybertrucks, especially because in a couple of weeks, the federal tax credit's going away. So the Cybertruck's already been selling poorly, and the price is basically about to jump $7,500 for the rear-wheel drive variant, the all-wheel drive variant. Cyber Beast already had a giant price hike, but ooh, they throw in FSD now, yay. Did I mention there's still no basic autopilot on the Cybertruck? They just gave up on that. They just decided they're not going to offer it. That's what makes me laugh every time they're like, oh yeah, Tesla's going to license FSD so that other automakers can use it. It's like, why don't they try licensing it to Hardware 3 customers, or maybe license it to the Cybertruck first? Anyway, autonomy memes aside, I think there's a ton of demand for SUVs, especially if you look at just like Rivian sales data. The R1S is outselling the R1T like 3-to-1. Way more people are buying the 3-row SUV than the pickup truck, and there's tax reasons for that I'm sure the Cyber SUV would also qualify for. And even if it was more expensive, I just think that the Model X is not suiting people anymore, and it's not the new kid on the block. Those Falcon Wing doors, as flashy and as great as they are when you're showing up to like a, I don't know, Met Gala or something fancy like that, they're just not practical. They eat into the interior headroom, they eat into the roof rack capabilities. There's basically none on a Model X, and especially compared to a Model Y, it's just not that roomy. The Model Y has gotten too good now that it's very difficult for people to justify buying a Model X at this point. So if Tesla wants to continue selling, you know, big vehicles at that price point, they need to have more product differentiation. I don't think you can just have two crossovers that are like a couple inches difference in length and just say, well, one has air suspension and one doesn't. That's pretty much the argument now between Model Y and X, and especially if you bring the Model Y L into the equation, it's like an arguably better car with more luxurious interior features for half the price. It's just like not even a question. But if a Cyber SUV could enter the picture with more luxurious second row capabilities, still a ton of storage space in the back, but now you also got steer-by-wire, now you've got way more room in the back than even a Model X is currently rocking, and you can still have a roof rack. And screw it, just ship the biggest possible battery pack you can in that thing. You know how many people are pumped for the Lucid Gravity just because it's a proper 3-row SUV with a ton of storage space and a ton of range? Like, that's what people have been asking from Tesla for a long time now. And the Cybertruck, I feel like, has kind of lost its wow factor. Like, it was cool and amazing, and everyone was like, wow, it's so unique and different. Back in 2020, in 2019, when it was first unveiled, I, rode those coattails. Cybertruck is probably the reason a lot of you guys know about this channel in the first place, but now it's been out for a while. There's a lot of complaints about the exoskeleton and the steel, and all of the political association has caused all kinds of problems. So personally, I think this assembly line, where they've spent a ton of money on the giga castings and the battery pack, the dimensions and the chassis, the higher voltage architecture and everything, there's a lot that can be salvaged here. Like the same way they went from Model 3 being production hell. Honestly, Model 3 was a way better car, but still they were able to reutilize a lot of the parts from the Model 3 to scale it up for the Model Y so that they could share a lot of componentry as they scaled up production of the crossover. And I think they could do a very similar thing with the Cyber SUV. You've already got a supply chain in place, and you've already spent all this money to develop the buttons and the UI and the controls and how the chassis and the castings all assemble for the Cybertruck, which is just not selling all that well because, in my opinion, not that useful of a truck. But converting that line, if it's going to be an $80,000 vehicle anyway, into more of a luxurious 3-row SUV segment that can sit more people, that can be more comfortable and have a ton of storage space, way more than a Model Y L or Model X, that's a hole in the market that I think is quite present. And that's why you see a lot of people excited for, those different extremely expensive versions of the electric Cadillac with those giant backs and huge battery packs. Although GM is probably losing money on those models, I think Tesla could probably get close to the same storage capacity and close to the same range, but do it in a more profitable manner that a lot of people would jump on board with. Personally, I think if the goal of the Cybertruck was to try to make a F-150 competitor that sold at that high a volume, it's kind of failed. I don't know exactly what caused it. Maybe it was the exoskeleton. Maybe they went too over the top with the battery pack and the air suspension, the higher voltage architecture. I'm not sure, but I think it's easy for a lot of us to sit by and just go, oh, well, Tesla should just lower the price. Just lower the price to 50 grand, but I don't think they can afford to. I think they over-engineered it, and now they've built an assembly line at Giga Texas that's really only going to be good at building $80,000 vehicles. So I'm trying to be realistic and say, okay, well, if it has to be an $80,000 vehicle, I think it'd be better off as a 3-row SUV that's a bit more of a luxurious emphasis rather than a tough, rugged, bulletproof emphasis. Because if you're trying to make a vehicle that could sell at the scale of F-150 and Ram, it's got to be substantially cheaper. And if it's going to be electric, I think the only way you can really do that is to make it smaller, because pickup trucks by design are not that energy efficient, which means to get adequate range, you need a big battery pack, which makes it more expensive. So yes, I am very biased because I do work for a small pickup truck company. So feel free to comment. My opinion doesn't matter. I understand that. But just knowing what Tesla has invested in, I don't think it's going to be that easy to just scrap all of those giga castings. Those cost hundreds of millions of dollars, and just somehow make a smaller Cybertruck. I think it would be much easier to just turn one of the Model Y assembly lines into a smaller pickup truck. If you're gonna make one, just modify the Model Y a little bit. That's probably going to be way cheaper, and Giga Shanghai proved that you can modify the Model Y line pretty easily, I guess, and turn the Cybertruck line into a Cyber SUV line. Sure, make it look just like the one we saw in the video. That looks great. Have plenty of leg room in the 3rd row and make it very luxurious. Even do a 6-seater where you just have amazing captain seats and give it massaging seats and make it just like the ultimate, politician vehicle because it's bulletproof, right? I don't know. That's what I think they should do, because Cybertruck ain't selling and the price is only going up at this point. I don't see how Tesla can lower the price anymore. Look at how much they took out of the rear-wheel drive variant, and it's still too expensive, especially with the tax credit going away. So rather than fill up all of their inventory lots with unsold trucks, I say Cyber SUV, that's what they should do. Feel free to disagree with me down in the comments below. And thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. video. So thanks again. Have an excellent rest of your day.